Everybody, and welcome to Revitalise Meets. Yes, we're back and we're back in action, ready to be interviewing many business connections and key decision makers from across the global business network. The Revitalise Meets delves into the questions and a bit further into the background from many business connections from across the globe. And I've got the great pleasure, privilege, to be welcoming back a gentleman who came along and saw us at the early part of, can I believe I'm saying this, lockdown. Before we got at that lockdown stage, he was wearing a waistcoat at that point as well, and he was matched by me in what we're dressed in wearing the same. We've got the memo, each of us as well. But again, it's great to find out about the story so far, and even from the time that he launched a fabulous book about Embrace the Space. And also, that was very just popped up from nowhere there. You see, that's quite clever the way they did that. Delving into social media, delving into the digital world itself, can you please welcome with us today on LinkedIn Live and all of the social platforms we're live on today, the one, yes, but as always, the only, Mr. Gary Ennis of NSDesign Ltd. Gary, how are you today?
I'm good, Lee. I just love your introductions, by the way. It just makes it all worthwhile for coming on these things. It's fantastic.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks very much. Well, it's been a while since we caught up last, and there's been a lot of things going on over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
What's been happening? And, tell us about your business journey over the last sort of 18 to 24 months.
Yeah, it's been a fun time for everyone, hasn't it? My goodness. Prior to lockdown, NSDesign, me individually, the rest of the kind of wider team, we were all in meeting rooms and physical training rooms and face to face with people. And then, boom, it happened. That which shall not be named. We'll call it Voldemort. Radically changed. The last 24 months, especially Zoom, Teams, GoToMeeting, live streaming, the world of virtual has very much become the norm. And of course, it's become the norm for everybody, not just us by any measure. But that whole complete change as a company from a physical face-to-face training company, because that's now what I consider NSDesign, a digital skills training company. We've evolved a lot over the last couple of decades, but we'd gotten to the stage where we were out face-to-face almost on a daily basis, meeting people, and then the tide turned and it was all virtual. So what's been changing is not really so much what we do, but just how we do it, and the whole shift to the how do you engage people, virtually rather than face to. How do you read the energy of a room? How do you deliver amazing training, but not have that personal face to face human touch, which is so important. And I think, and you'll know as well as anybody, Lee, the challenge going forward, of course, is as we begin to come out of it. I won't lie, most of the stuff we're still doing is still virtual. I think it depends on what you do. Being digital skills focused, we mainly get asked to deliver digital skills, and because of the last 2 years, the tendency is still to ask us to do it digitally, virtually. But there's the odd engagement coming out. There's the odd contract coming up. There's the odd bit of work which is now back in the real world, and it's a delight to be so. I'm traveling to Dundee first thing tomorrow morning, which I won't lie, I don't miss the early starts and kind of traveling here, there, and everywhere. But it's great to be back out there to some level, and I think the challenge for all of us will be that hybrid. That how do we blend the mix of both? Because, as somebody who used to just look at my diary and say, right, where do I need to be at what time? Now it's a case of, okay, where do I need to be? Which setup am I on? Can I get from my office on Zoom to Dundee the next day? And it's the challenge of that. The hybrid working for us will be the fun one in the months and years ahead, because it's that's where it's all going.
It's so important. I mean, it comes on nicely to one of the questions I want to ask you today, as well as about how you've adapted into a sort of how it's adapted to a virtual hybrid world, because you've just tapped on briefly there now. I think we're living in a world where we're not just going out and setting up our schedules to go to a meeting or drive somewhere, using the transportation, going further afield. We've now got this virtual online different world that we have available that's actually combined all together. And it's that exactly as you say, it's like, right, am I online today? What's my setup? What's my process?
Yeah.
How am I going to use that? Has that made has that just happened recently, or has it happened more maybe sort of the last 6 months or the last 3 months for you?
Well, for us, I mean, if we go right back to the start of the pandemic, and again, I'm not dissing anybody else or how anybody else did it, but I spoke to so many businesses like ours, you know, doing training in the public sector, private sector, and so many of them early days latched onto the, oh, I hope it goes back quickly. You know, I hope this is a blip. I hope this is a you know, a short-term thing and we can go back to the normal, you know, whatever the normal was in the first place. And I'm not saying that I was, you know, amazingly foresighted and, you know, had the light bulb moment, but the moment I realized that it was going to last, you know, even just a couple of weeks, a month, where you know, I took the approach of, well, if we're going to be digital trainers, if we're going to be online delivery, then let's be the best. Let's go in and change how we do it. Let's not try and be physical trainers doing our best as we can in the online space. Let's go and be the best online trainers. So we invested in loads of new kit. We upgraded all the webcams, all the mics, all the you know, all the backdrops. We changed all the broadband provision to give us you know, faster speeds. To the extent that, you know, if somebody was on one of our webinars, we wanted it to sound and look and feel the best. We invested in the team. You know, a lot of us went on kind of specialized train the trainer training, you know, to get better at you know, doing what we did in the digital space rather than just in the physical space. And we kind of really just pushed it. And as much as if and when it does go back, well, guess what? These are skills which will be worth developing and kit which will be worth having, because as we've discovered, we've not gone back. You know, we have massively accelerated the growth curve of how people use digital, how they use Zoom or live streaming or you know, the digital world, full stop. There was a wonderful quote that came out very early on in the pandemic by one of the heads at Google, and they basically said we have in the space of 6 months we've jumped the equivalent of 10 years. And it was, again, I wasn't sitting, you know, boastfully going, well, I'm glad I invested, but it needed to be that, because otherwise, you know, 6 months down the line, you're going, right, we're not going back, and we've now lost the market a little bit. We've now kind of, you know, we didn't jump on it, which I'm glad we did. So yeah, we've evolved our tech, we've evolved our attitudes, we've evolved, you know, how we engage other people, and yeah, it's been a fun, exciting, manic ride along the way. So.
Brilliant, and it's great to see how you've utilized all the tools you got available, because it is your space.
Yeah.
Excuse the pun again. There's a space there again. But again, looking at challenges and looking at achievements that you've had, what would you say has been your biggest challenge that's turned into your biggest achievement over the past 12 months? How did you overcome that challenge to turn it around?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I suppose for any business, you know, arguably success over the last 12 months has been staying in business, and keeping growing and moving forward in what has been, as we've talked about, very weird and wonderful times. But you know, as a company, you know, we've done that. We've excelled. We've actually won some because of our slight refocus into, we are the digital training provider of choice. You know, we've won some very lucrative public sector contracts. The one I'm probably most proud of is the Business Gateway Digital Boost national webinar contract. We're now the exclusive provider of all of their Digital Boost national webinars. There's 28 webinars delivered every month by the team. And again, you know, it's what we love doing. It's our passion. So that is a kind of a very practical, you know, thing that I would you know, highlight as a success. As a challenge, I think, again, it's not really specific to the last 12 months, but as any small business owner will know, maybe more so over the last 12 months, it's getting that whole work-life balance right. It's getting that whole constant adaptation to change, and the impact that has on well-being and your day-to-day thinking. For me in particular, on a personal level, I'm a sucker for CPD. I love to learn, and so one of my biggest challenges was in amongst the year that we were having, I also thought it'd be a good idea at the time to undertake my SIM, my Chartered Institute of Marketing professional diploma, just because I like doing things like that anyway. I should probably never have done it at the time I did it, but achieving that for me on a personal level was a challenge, but a huge success, and I really something I'm proud of at the end of the day as well. So yeah, I don't know, does that make sense?
It does. No, it totally makes sense. It totally makes sense in regards of what you've been doing and how you've been using that sort of environment itself, and how it's actually developed for you as well. Apologies, I was just moving something to one side there.
No.
Any noise for our camera today as well. So
I think you're right. It's almost a case of how do you make the most of this time? How do you make the most of this time of change? How do you make the most of the kind of the randomness that's going on? And do you sit and hope that things go back to normal, or hide, or kind of stay, or do you push yourself and do you actually learn new skills and seek new markets? And I think if you're brave enough to kind of to do a bit of that, then yeah, it's going to pay off in the long term.
And I think it's I think what you've just touched on there as well is that we've got an online model that we're working with now. A lot of people are coming away from the online trying to get more back to the in-person event.
Yeah.
But it's actually embracing those both areas together.
Yeah.
That is what we have to be doing going forward with that one as well. And
it is, and of course every business is different, but the challenge of that will manifest itself in different ways. So if you are technically, how do you run a hybrid event? Now, of course, everyone kind of knows how to run hybrid events now because they've been forced to learn it over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But again, it's that whole, how do you deal with for me, our type of company, how do you deal with people in the room and the people in the virtual space at the same time, giving each one your time and your effort, and the energy and the kind of differences. Yeah, hybrid is the big challenge, but the big opportunity, I think, for all businesses going forward. It's that whole, we're not going to go back to normal. The trends and the patterns have shown that. So how do you start to mix the two most beneficially and maximize the both of them, while still being able to blend them together? Because I don't think, while it's been like that over the last couple of years, I think for our company, it's not going to be a case of we will do some digital training, some online training, and some real world training. I think we will just go back to doing training. But it's the customer's prerogative how they choose to attend. It's down to them how they want to experience that. In person, driving to a training room in Dundee, or via Zoom, or via Teams, or whatever platform they want to embrace themselves. And that's going to be the fun part going forward.
It is indeed. I think what works best for their environments, what works best for both. Someone may want in person, some may want the digital online itself is what works best for their environments they're working in.
Exactly. And you know what? We're not saying anything new here. Good business always looks to adapt to what the customer wants. I've always said, if you make a decision in business, it's not based on what you think, it's what they want, it's what they need. The one thing you need in business is a customer, and if you don't kind of match their level of tech expertise, their level of training required, then you're delivering the wrong thing to it might be the best thing, it might be what to be, but it needs to be at the customer level. And I think we just always have to adapt to customer requirements. So
very true indeed. And it comes on nicely to my sort of next question, really, is always like delving into the top tips or the golden nuggets of information that you can share with our online and audience that's watching and listening us today. And we've got David McKenna. This was the quote on there. Gary is great. Yeah, £5 in the post. So thanks for sharing that with us, David.
I know, David. I'll slip you a wee brown envelope later on for that. Thank you. Always nice to see David.
on that one there for us. So from your industry, and especially what we've just been discussing in the first part of this as well, is about the environment and where we're living in right now between the virtual and in-person world.
Yeah.
What would be your advice from either a social media stance?
Yep.
What would be your top 3 golden tips to get the most out of it? What would you share with us?
Okay. Well, the first one is I would, and directly related to using social media, but not forgetting that this will also be critical in the real world as well, that whole hybrid type approach. And again, I probably said this on our last interview, so apologies, Lee. Don't forget that, social media, the clue is in the title. It is social media. It's not spam me media. It's not advertise all day to me media. It's not bore me stupid with your adverts media. It's social media. And when you consider, how little, organically the platforms are giving these days because of these really pesky, aggressive algorithms, your content is being seen by less and less people. So if you're going to have a chance of giving a first impression to somebody, then it needs to be a social good one. And so by that I mean, don't forget, be social, have fun, engage, chat, give value, put smiles on people's faces. It sounds daft, but one of the worst things to do in business on social media is to be too business-like. That will come. That will come later. But goodness me, the world of networking knows this more than anything. If a big group of people are networking and you walk in the room and you immediately start spamming them all with your business card, or hey, I'm Gary, this is what I do, can I sell it to you? But that's what so many businesses do in the social space. They just, they hit it with the sales pitch, as opposed to building the relationship and building the brand and the, showing what you stand for and what you're passionate about and how you can help people. And as I say, even just if you can put a smile on somebody's face, that will lead to business further down the line. So yeah, tip number 1, the social in social media. Please focus on that. And you know what, even Lee, on a personal level, and maybe this is just because I'm getting to the age in life, or I'm getting to be, be nicer through your social media. Okay, no one wants to work with nasty, grumpy people. Okay, so don't be a social media ranter on a personal level on your personal channels, because trust me, it'll come back and bite you professionally as well. And in general terms, and we all know what I mean, I'm sure, when I say things like this, there's enough vile, nasty stuff out there right now. Good businesses do not need to be adding to that. We should be out there kind of spreading love and joy, which sounds very rose-tinted glasses, but I do believe that. Okay, quickly moving on, because otherwise I'm tip number 2, because you asked me for 3, didn't you? I suppose tip number 2 would be that whole, I kind of already mentioned earlier on, I'm a bit of a CPD addict, continuous professional development. So tip number 2 in the business world in general would be never stop learning. Never stop learning. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased when I say that, because we deliver learning, but that's not why I give that tip. Learn things which help your business, learn things which are nothing to do with your business. Just keep learning. Whether it's you, the business owner, whether it's your team, your staff, your modern apprenticeship, there's so much great free stuff out there as well. It doesn't need to cost you a penny. There will just be that time management and work-life balance, I suppose, being the biggest challenge. If you've got staff, especially younger members of staff, get them signed up to the SQA diploma and digital, funded through the Modern Apprenticeship Programme. Again, bring in some young lifeblood into your organisations, which again has so many huge benefits beyond just their digital skills that they might bring. Or of course, again, from the free learning side of things, if your community isn't aware of the Flexible Workforce Development Fund, which gives most small businesses up to 5,000 in free training grant, which you can use through colleges or providers, it's there. So upskill yourself. Never before has there been an important time to do that, to grow your capability, to widen your net, to learn. I'm a big fan of learning. I really am. Okay, and tip number 3, put me on the spot here. I'll go with one that I will often cite, and that is you know, as a business owner, which I know a lot of your community will be, trust your gut. Okay, your gut feeling on things. Yes, take advantage of all the learning and business support out there and all the amazing, excellent resources. But it's your business. How does it feel? Okay, the feeling of business. That, you know, if it feels wrong, it usually is. If it feels right, even though it might be fraught with potential risks, then usually you kind of have that intuition for a reason. Yeah, I'm a big believer in kind of, you know, the passion and the feeling side of business, and doing what feels right. So trust your gut would be my tip number 3.
Love it. I hope you've all written those 3 top tips down that you take away. And I
They're
love
hardly rocket science. They're hardly rocket science.
It's not rocket science, but it's again, it's just putting it out there. Really, is being. I love the part at the beginning is social.
Yeah.
You know, actually showcasing your personality online.
Yeah.
Because why should anybody deal with you if they don't know you properly?
So that's exactly correct. You know, your analogy there, Lee, 100%. You know, it's that whole. A lot of business owners have this expectation that, and it's I get it. You know, they're a good business. They're doing things ethically. They believe that they're better than the competition, doing it for the right reasons. But the customer doesn't know that. The customer doesn't know you. So, you know, to me, a first-time customer, you're just like all the others. Some of the others have shafted me in the past. You'll shaft me as well. Why should I trust you? You see one thing on your website, it's probably just lies because you're looking for business. So you have to build the trust. You have to build the relationship. You have to get them to know you, to love you, to trust you before they will do business with you. And yet so many businesses jump in and try and do business, as opposed to building that whole trust. So and social can be great for that. You know, if we actually just treated it for what it was. You know, and in some of the training sessions, you know, I asked the audience, what's Facebook for? And everyone says fun, friends, family. And I say, right, do you come across fun, friendly, and family orientated on Facebook, or are you just trying to flog me your stuff? Because if it's the latter, then I'm not engaging with you on that platform, because, you know, it's about matching the needs of the users again. It's going back to the whole, what do the users want? How are they using a tool? How are they expecting, you know, you to come across? Oh, there's a business trying to sell me stuff. There's a surprise. And immediately I'm on the back foot. Immediately I'm not, you know, keen on engaging, as opposed to a little bit of personality going a long way.
Yeah, it's true. Why it's involving yourself in the individual, showcasing what you do, how you do it. It's less about, I mean, I mentioned this quite a lot, less about product and services that you're trying to promote. You can have that in there somewhere,
of course,
but also the platforms have a place of where they are. Like the Facebook's a different type of environment altogether. Yeah. LinkedIn is more of a professional business environment that you're working in. And
you know what? Just on that note, Lee, you know, and again, I'm gonna move away from just giving social media advice today, as per the chat. But you know, so many businesses, they simply approach it as, I'll do social media, which means they just look at Facebook the same as LinkedIn, the same as TikTok, the same as Instagram, and they wonder that, you know, they wonder why, when they simply cut and paste my marketing today to these platforms, they wonder why it doesn't work. And that's because, well, as you've said, LinkedIn's different to Facebook. Yeah. You know, what people want on TikTok's different to what people want on Twitter. Correct. And you need to tailor it and approach it. You know, just like every networking event is different with a different focus or agenda or topic, we need to be approaching these platforms with clever social intent. And as you say, the business, yeah, you'll get a chance to tell them about your product, your service, or they'll discover it themselves if you've interested them, or trust, you know, or that trust is beginning to build, that you don't need to just ram it down their throats all day long.
Yeah, no, good points shared on that one there for us. And it comes on nicely with the, I think we've rehearsed this in some way, shape, or form.
Never.
It comes along nicely, talking about like reflection. I talked to this to a few of my guests, and it's about reflecting on times that have happened. But you train people regularly. Yep. You know, you've got the CPD that you talk about, continuous professional development, but also looking at your training other people. Yep. What training do you take? What books are you reading? I know you produce books, but you know, what are you delving into to train yourself? How do you upskill you, Gary?
Okay, well, I kind of very practical way of answering that question first of all, and then I'll take a slight tangent. As I've said, I do love my CPD. As a company, we take advantage of things like the Flexible Workforce Development Fund. I'm currently doing some coaching, formal training through Glasgow City College. So again, quite formal, where I become the trainee rather than the trainer, which is always nice. It gives me that chance to sit back and see how other people do it, and not always be out there doing it myself. So I'm doing things like that. I'm doing coaching training. I again last week I did some training, the virtual trainer. See, again, not that, and this might sound boastful, not that I need it. Okay, but you never know what little one nugget you'll pick up that you'll start to do differently yourself. So even if you think you are an expert in that thing, go to more training on that thing. And just see how other people do it and pick up on tips and tricks. Anyway, the one thing that I did want to mention when I knew you were going to ask me this question, Lee, not that we planned the questions in advance.
No, not at all.
Not at all. I was actually going to ask you, are you familiar with Ikigai? Have you heard of this? I've been tweeting and posting a few things lately about Ikigai.
Okay.
It's spelled Ikigai. It's a kind of old Japanese philosophy based on your reason for being. And again, your question was, any self-reflect. I've been using this a lot lately for kind of deep and meaningful self-reflection.
Yeah.
Ikigai basically asks 4 questions. Listen, if any of your community are familiar with Simon Sinek's
Yes.
amazing, presentations on, start with why. That whole find your purpose. Ikigai is kind of like that. It basically asks 4 questions. It asks, are you doing what you love? Are you good at it? Does the world need it? And are they willing to pay for it? And if the answer is yes to those 4 things, you have found your Ikigai, you've found your purpose. And I think it's a lovely model. And the more I look into it and the more I read books about it and blogs and all the rest of it, lately I've been bringing it into client work. So, if I'm doing work with clients about potential business ideas or plans or new product launches or whatever, those 4 questions are great kind of precursors to, is there any point in going forward here? Are you loving this? And I suppose, and I kind of hinted at this earlier on, I think I've gotten to the stage in life and in business where I just want things to be more meaningful. I don't want to just take on work for the sake of it. I want to do things that I love and things that I feel are making a difference. And Ikigai is this kind of nice formula to kind of have in the background. So there we go. A bit deep, but worth looking at. Definitely worth looking at.
I definitely think it's worth. I mean, even if you get those 4 questions, put them up somewhere in your office.
Yeah.
You just look at them every day and just.
There's a lovely graphic which kind of has it's a kind of Zen diagram. It has the overlapping circles and it's got those four questions, and when they overlap, in the center of it is your Ikigai. And if 2 or 3 of them overlap, it kind of talks about, I've got it on my screen right now. If you do what you love, and you're you're good at it, and the world needs it, but they're not willing to pay for it, then it kind of says that you'll have delight and fullness but no wealth. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely kind of simple business model to work to is this a good thing to progress as a business? So I urge you all to discover your inner Ikigai and do more of what you love. Do more of
That's
what you
another
love.
podcast ready to be happening there, I think, like Gary. So the inner Ikigai. So brilliant. Thanks for sharing that, Gary. Thanks very much. We've talked a lot today about your business, where you are, how we're combining the hybrid offering and everything else. But you're doing a lot yourself at the minute, and you're doing a lot of research, a lot of training, a lot of self-reflection. But what's the next step of your journey? What's around the corner for Gary and NSDesign and further afield?
Well, I think first off, and not that I'm just giving it a blatant plug, because we've talked about we shouldn't do things like that in business, but we will be. We're still plugging the book, Embrace the Space. But there we go, as Lee makes it magically appear. We're hopefully going to do another release of it next year. It'll be kind of the 2nd edition, so to speak. Although saying that, and it sounds a bit cheesy, and I probably do this more than Colin Kelly, my co-author of the book. I find myself read. My wife looks at me like I'm bonkers or just weird. I find myself reading it, my own book. It's a bit. and it's not for vanity purposes. I find myself reading it because I go to it to remind myself something that we said in it, and next thing I know, I'm two chapters in, laughing away at my own bad jokes and enjoying the point is, we genuinely believe, and other people can confirm or deny this, that it stood the test of time very well. I say that it's still under 2 years old, but it hasn't aged. We were very aware that doing a book on social media could age very quickly because social media changes so quickly. But because of the level we kept it at, which was the kind of general best practice, the guiding principles, rather than the detail of individual platforms, it still holds true right now. So we were originally the plan was to re-release it this year. We felt it didn't need it, so we're probably going to do edition 2 next year. So that's something which is going to come soon. Other than that, as dull as it sounds, from a business perspective, more of the same. Okay, we'll continue to look at opportunities that, as we grow our digital skills provision. I see this company as an education provider more than anything else. So we've got some ideas about things coming soon, digital academy type approaches, and learning banks of content, and kind of really just pushing the learning skills side of the business, not just on Zoom, but hopefully as we've talked about today, a high percentage of it coming back in person too. So exciting times ahead.
It is indeed, and there's no harm in reading back through the book. I mean, I've read it over multiple times, and there's always a part that I always earmark in the page anyways. Know your business, the 3 golden rules,
know
your audience, and again, know your business, know your audience, give them something they want to share.
Yeah, give them value. Give them value. Yeah,
give them value that's in there. So there's some golden nuggets galore in there. You just need to skip through the pages and highlight and go back over it again at times and really delve into it a bit further. So you and Colin done a grand job with that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Second edition next year as well. For everybody who's watching, we've got Jim Callahan on there as well. We've got Dave McKenna's made some little comments on there for us in the group chat, because we are live on LinkedIn as well. How can everybody who's watching and listening today, what's the best course of action of getting in touch with the one and only Mr. Gary Ennis?
Well, if you want to, and you don't need to feel obliged to, easiest way, of course, is maybe through the website, where you get a little bit more of a feel about what we do as an organisation. The website is nsdesign.co.uk, N for Norman, S for sugar, design.co.uk. If you want to go straight to information on the book, just in case Lee, more than me, has convinced you to be intrigued by that, embracethespacebook.com. And of course, through all the usual channels at NSDesign on most of them. But yeah, I'm easy found, so please get in touch.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Gary. Just comes from me now to say thank you very much for coming back and telling us the story so far.
My pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
You are more than welcome. Thank you very much. And thank you to you all for watching and for listening to us on all of the social media platforms today. Please stay in touch. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel to hear over 100 interviews, including Gary's interview just today as well. And there's going to be many more Revitalise meets on LinkedIn Live and on YouTube coming very, very soon, where, as always, I get the chance to embrace the opportunity to meet global and key decision makers from the networking business forums that we have right now. It just comes from me now to say thanks very much again for watching and listening. From me and from Gary, have a wonderful rest of the week. And as always, keep connecting and keep delving into finding those opportunities in the conversation. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye for now.